Ladies and gentlemen, let's begin today with a simple yet powerful truth. Success is not something you pursue. Success is something you attract by the person you become. This one principle, shared by the legendary Jim Rohn, changed countless lives. And today it can change yours if you're willing to listen, reflect, and apply. Success is not something that can be hunted down like prey. It is not a target to be captured through sheer force or ambition. Rather, success behaves more like a mirror. It reflects who you are becoming, not what you are chasing. The harder you chase it without internal transformation, the more it eludes you. But when you shift your focus from external achievements to internal development, success begins to take notice. This is one of the foundational principles taught by Jim Rohn, and it stands as both a challenge and an invitation. Success is something you attract by the person you become. This idea may seem counterintuitive in a world that glorifies hustle, speed, and visible results. But beneath the surface of every lasting success story is a person who first refined their inner world. A person who didn't just pursue outcomes, but elevated their mindset, habits, character, and value. The truth is, you don't get success because you want it. You get success because you've aligned yourself with the principles that naturally draw it toward you. It's a law of nature, much like gravity. You cannot defy it, you must learn to work with it. The question then becomes, how does one begin to attract success? The answer lies in personal development. Consider this: if someone gave you $1 million today, but you hadn't developed the discipline, wisdom, or mindset to handle that wealth, it wouldn't last. The money might come, but it will vanish just as quickly. That's because success without the corresponding maturity becomes a burden rather than a blessing. Therefore, the internal must precede the external. Your mindset must grow to the level of your goals, otherwise your life will snap back like a rubber band to match your current identity. When you begin to cultivate better habits, feed your mind with wisdom, take full ownership of your actions, and refine your communication and discipline, you start becoming someone worthy of greater opportunity. And here's the catch: opportunity does not respond to need, it responds to value. The marketplace doesn't pay you for effort, it rewards you for results and the kind of person you've become in the process. You don't attract success because you're desperate for it. You attract it because you've become so valuable that success cannot help but come your way. This principle also applies to relationships, career growth, health, and even peace of mind. The healthier and more emotionally intelligent you become, the healthier relationships you attract, the more leaderships you develop, the more doors open professionally. When you elevate your standards and your skills, you begin to live at a higher frequency, one where opportunity is naturally drawn to you, not because you're lucky, but because you've earned it. Many individuals confuse movement with progress. They think that if they're constantly doing, grinding, and pushing, they're getting closer to success. But motion without alignment is wasted energy. If you're doing without becoming, you're building on sand. Lasting success is built on a solid foundation, one that includes self-respect, clear purpose, intentional action, and mental resilience. Jim Rohn often emphasized the phrase, "Don't wish it were easier, wish you were better." This is not a statement of self-condemnation, it's a call to empowerment. It shifts the responsibility from the world to yourself, where it belongs. When you rise, everything around you rises. Your results, your network, your influence, they are all reflections of who you are. Success is not waiting for you somewhere out there. It is waiting for you to become the kind of person it belongs to. When that happens, success doesn't need to be chased. It arrives quietly and powerfully because you've become ready to receive it. The distinction between working on your job and working on yourself may seem subtle on the surface, but it holds the power to completely transform a person's life trajectory. Most individuals are taught to focus on their profession, to invest time, energy, and resources into becoming better at what they do for a living. And while competence in one's career is undoubtedly important, it is far from sufficient when it comes to achieving long-term fulfillment and success. Jim Rohn famously stated, "If you work hard on your job, you'll make a living. If you work hard on yourself, you'll make a fortune." This simple contrast between making a living and making a fortune is a reflection of the deeper reality. True success flows from the inside out. A job provides financial stability, routine, and structure. but the limitations of any job are apparent. Positions can be eliminated, markets can shift, industries can evolve or disappear entirely. In contrast, personal growth is portable. What you develop in yourself, your discipline, attitude, communication skills, emotional intelligence, and vision, travels with you wherever you go. No one can take it away from you. This inner development becomes the wellspring of all external achievements. It shapes how you think, how you react under pressure, how you treat others, how you set goals, and how you solve problems. These are the elements that create long-term value in both professional and personal life. When you work only on your job, you're essentially becoming a better employee or technician. But when you work on yourself, you become a better thinker, leader, decision maker, and creator. The former may earn you a raise, the latter could birth a revolution in how you live and impact others. Working on yourself means deliberately investing time into reading, learning, refining your habits, understanding your emotions, managing your time, and developing your strengths. It is about evolving your identity, not just expanding your resume. Many people mistakenly believe that success is a result of external factors, luck, connections, timing. But those who excel consistently across multiple areas of life are often the ones who have made personal development a daily practice. They understand that their income can grow only as fast as they do. They know that success does not exceed one's level of self-awareness and self-discipline. They embrace the truth that the most valuable asset they have is not their job title, but their mindset. Developing yourself is not a passive act. It requires intentionality. Just as you would attend training to enhance job skills, you must commit to strengthening the traits that shape how you think, feel, and act. Do you take time to reflect on your decisions? Are you aware of how your emotions affect your judgment? Have you identified your limiting beliefs and challenged them? These internal efforts yield powerful external results. A person who is composed, visionary, articulate, and resourceful will always be in demand, regardless of the industry. In medicine, we understand the importance of preventive care, treating the cause, not just the symptoms. The same applies here. Working on yourself is preventive success. It builds a strong immune system against failure, mediocrity, and stagnation. It creates resilience so that when obstacles arise, you don't collapse under pressure but adapt, respond, and move forward. Those who rely solely on job performance are at the mercy of external factors. Bosses, economic shifts, company decisions. But those who build themselves from within become their own source of stability and opportunity. They don't wait for circumstances to favor them. They become the kind of individuals who can thrive in any circumstance. In essence, working on your job might help you survive. Working on yourself is what helps you thrive. It is not merely about gaining knowledge, but about developing wisdom. It is not about becoming busy, but about becoming better. And when you consistently focus on becoming better, your life in every dimension begins to reflect that growth. In the practice of medicine, we often speak of incremental improvements, small changes in daily behavior that yield substantial long-term benefits. The same principle applies when it comes to success. While the world is often enamored by dramatic transformations and overnight achievements, real, lasting success is built through the quiet force of consistent small disciplines. It is not the one-time grand gesture that shapes your destiny, but the daily decision to show up, to improve, and to keep your word to yourself. Jim Rohn taught that success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines, practiced every day. This may seem too simplistic for the ambitious mind, but its power lies in its consistency. Much like the human body responds to routine nutrition, sleep, and exercise, your character and capabilities respond to repeated, intentional action. A small, positive behavior done consistently compounds over time into extraordinary results. Conversely, a series of small neglects, skipping a workout, delaying a goal, procrastinating on a task, also compounds, but in the opposite direction. There is a physiological truth here that mirrors human behavior. When you prescribe medication to a patient, its efficacy is rarely instantaneous. Healing and improvement occur over time through adherence and repetition. The body doesn't recover from a single dose, and neither does your life. Success requires discipline, applied consistently, not sporadically. One workout won't make you fit. One day of reading won't make you wise, and one act of kindness won't define your character. But when these actions become part of your identity, woven into your lifestyle, they begin to transform you from the inside out. The danger lies in the fact that small disciplines are also easy to ignore. Reading 10 pages a day seems insignificant. Waking up 30 minutes earlier doesn't feel life-changing in the moment. Writing down your goals might feel unnecessary, but the results of these disciplines don't show up immediately. They accrue invisibly, like interest in a savings account. And one day, often years later, the rewards surface unexpectedly to others, but not to you, because you've been planting seeds in silence long before the harvest arrived. In clinical medicine, we value data and trends more than isolated readings. A single blood pressure check doesn't determine a diagnosis. It's the pattern over time that matters. The same logic applies here. You are not judged by one moment, but by your habits. The trajectory of your life is not determined by sudden sprints of effort, but by the direction your habits are taking you each day. If your current disciplines are repeated for the next year, where will you be? That is the real prognosis. There is something else equally important. These disciplines train not only your skills, but your identity. Every time you keep a commitment to yourself, you reinforce your belief that you are someone who follows through. Each time you choose discipline over distraction, you strengthen your mental resilience. Over time, these choices compound into character, and character is the foundation of all sustainable success. It is also worth noting that discipline begets discipline. Just as physical exercise enhances mental clarity and proper sleep improves emotional regulation, one good habit reinforces another. A person who starts journaling each morning may also begin planning their day more effectively. Someone who develops a reading habit may naturally adopt better communication. This is the cascading effect of consistent positive behaviors. Ultimately, success is not a destination, it is a byproduct of the kind of person you become through daily action. There is no shortcut, no magic formula, no secret other than this: the small things matter. The seemingly minor decisions you make today are quietly shaping the person you will become tomorrow. And if you respect that process, if you trust in the compounding power of small disciplines, you'll wake up one day and realize you didn't just reach success, you became it. In medicine, we often refer to biological rhythms and natural healing timelines, how the body, when given the right conditions, heals gradually over time. No physician expects a wound to close the moment it's clean, or a chronic illness to resolve after one dose of treatment. Instead, healing follows a sequence, a patient process governed by biology and time. The same law applies to success. It operates not on impulse but on principle. Jim Rohn referred to this as the law of the farm, and just as a farmer cannot rush the harvest, you cannot rush authentic success. Consider the process of planting. A farmer prepares the soil, selects the right seeds, plants them at the right time, waters them consistently, and guards the young plants from pests and weather. Then he waits and waits. There is no guarantee of instant gratification. The farmer knows he cannot dig up the seeds every few days to see if they're growing. Growth is happening, even if unseen. Trust in that process is essential. Similarly, when you embark on the journey toward success, be it in career, health, relationships, or personal development, you are planting seeds. These seeds may take weeks, months, or even years to show fruit. But if you continue to nurture them through discipline, patience, and belief, the results will come. The challenge is that our modern society often celebrates rapid results and overnight success stories, which distort the perception of reality. We see the harvest, but rarely the seasons of planting, watering, and waiting that preceded them. In clinical practice, we often counsel patients to trust the process. A diabetic patient may feel disheartened if their blood glucose doesn't normalize after a week of lifestyle changes. But just as insulin resistance didn't develop overnight, neither will metabolic health restore in a few days. The key is consistency. In the same way, you must be patient with your own efforts, writing that book, building that business, transforming your habits. You must trust the lag time between effort and outcome. One of the most common reasons people fail is not because their goal is unreachable, but because they abandon it too soon. They stop watering the soil. They give up on the gym routine after 2 weeks. They get discouraged when the promotion doesn't come after a few extra hours of work. But success is not a microwave process, it's more like slow cooking. You cannot speed it up without sacrificing the quality of what you're creating. This principle also protects you from discouragement. When you internalize the law of the farm, you stop comparing yourself to others. You understand that every person has their own season. Just because someone else is harvesting now doesn't mean your time won't come. It just means they planted earlier or nurtured their field differently. Your responsibility is not to control the timing of the harvest, but to remain faithful in tending the soil. Additionally, setbacks and delays are a part of the process, not indicators of failure. In medicine, recovery often involves relapses and adjustments. We do not abandon treatment at the first sign of resistance. Likewise, in your pursuit of growth, expect detours. Learn from them. Adjust your methods if needed, but don't abandon the process. The seed is still alive. Success follows a natural order. First comes planting, then nurturing, and only then comes harvesting. If you skip any step, the outcome is compromised. This law applies universally, whether you're trying to learn a new language, build emotional maturity, or establish financial stability. You must embrace the season you're in, do the work that season requires, and trust that your harvest is on its way. In summary, the law of the farm teaches us that sustainable success is never rushed. It is cultivated patiently with steady hands and a long-term vision. In a world obsessed with speed, this mindset is not only rare, it's essential. Because just like in healing, the deepest transformations often happen beneath the surface, in silence, and on nature's time, not ours. One of the foundational principles in both health and personal development is the concept of accountability. In medicine, when a patient faces a chronic condition like diabetes or hypertension, the treatment plan goes beyond prescriptions. It requires the patient's active participation. They must monitor their own diet, stay consistent with medications, manage stress, and follow up regularly. Without personal responsibility, no amount of medical intervention can deliver lasting health. The same holds true in the pursuit of success. External factors may influence your path, but the ultimate responsibility lies with you. And until you accept that truth, real transformation remains out of reach. Jim Rohn emphasized this often. You must take personal responsibility. You cannot change the circumstances, the seasons, or the wind, but you can change yourself. That idea may feel uncomfortable at first. It's tempting and easy to blame the economy, your employer, your upbringing, or even luck. But placing responsibility outside yourself only guarantees one thing: powerlessness. If your circumstances are to blame, then you're left waiting for them to change before you can grow. But if you take ownership of your life, you immediately regain control. You don't need everything around you to be perfect. You just need to decide that your actions will no longer be dictated by your environment. In clinical practice, we encourage patients to move from passive recipients of care to active managers of their health. That same transition must occur in your approach to success. Are you merely reacting to life, or are you designing it? Are you waiting for someone to notice your efforts, or are you deliberately developing the habits and skills that command attention? The more you take responsibility for your outcomes, good or bad, the more empowered you become to change them. This mindset shift also fosters resilience. When you no longer see yourself as a victim of circumstance, you begin to see obstacles as feedback rather than as failures. If a project fails, you don't blame your team or the market. You examine your own preparation, your choices, your leadership. You ask, what could I have done differently? That question alone is a mark of maturity. In medicine, when a patient's condition worsens despite treatment, we don't throw up our hands. We reassess, adapt, and keep working. Success demands the same adaptability. Moreover, personal responsibility brings clarity. It cuts through excuses. You start identifying the real causes behind your stagnation: poor time management, fear of failure, lack of discipline, unwillingness to change, and once those causes are named, they can be addressed. In this sense, responsibility becomes diagnostic. It reveals the areas you need to treat within yourself. It is a form of internal medicine, where the symptoms of procrastination, frustration, or self-doubt point to deeper habits and beliefs that need correction. It is also important to understand that responsibility does not mean self-blame or guilt. Just as we wouldn't shame a patient for getting sick, we shouldn't condemn ourselves for setbacks in life. Taking responsibility means responding with wisdom, not judgment. It is the recognition that while you may not have caused every problem in your life, you are the only one who can fix them. Over time, responsibility becomes liberating. It creates stability, consistency, and credibility. People begin to trust you, not just because of your talent, but because of your dependability. And perhaps more importantly, you begin to trust yourself. You learn that your results are not random. They are reflections of your choices. That realization is both sobering and empowering. In the final analysis, personal responsibility is not a burden. It's the foundation of freedom. Just as no one else can breathe for you, no one else can create your success, that task belongs to you alone. And when you embrace it fully, you become unstoppable, not because your circumstances have changed, but because you have. In both medicine and life, value determines everything. A treatment, no matter how advanced, is only administered if it holds proven value to the patient. A medication is prescribed not because it exists, but because it brings measurable benefit. This same concept applies universally. The world rewards what is useful, effective, and meaningful. Jim Rohn spoke this truth plainly. If you want more, you must become more. Success does not respond to need, desperation, or effort alone. It responds to value. To attract greater outcomes, you must become a person of greater value. This begins with a simple shift in focus. Instead of asking, "What can I get?" you begin to ask, "What can I give?" The most valuable individuals in any field are not merely those with credentials, but those who solve problems, uplift others, and create results. Just like in clinical medicine, the most respected practitioners are not only those with the highest degrees, but those who consistently add value to patients' lives through diagnosis, empathy, and action. It's their presence, their thinking, and their consistency that make them indispensable. Becoming a person of value means elevating how you show up in every interaction, in every responsibility, even when no one is watching. It means doing more than what's required, not for recognition, but because it's who you are. Just as we train medical professionals to pursue excellence, not for applause, but for lives saved, you must condition yourself to offer your best, because it's the standard you've set within. Value creation is not a performance, it's a habit. A person of value invests in their own development, not because they are inadequate, but because they understand that stagnation is a form of regression. You cannot give what you do not possess. If you want to offer wisdom, you must seek it first. If you want to lead, you must develop humility and vision. If you want to be trusted, you must cultivate integrity. These are not traits handed out at birth. They are built day by day, choice by choice. In healthcare, we often speak about preventive measures, lifestyle changes that reduce risk and improve quality of life. In personal development, the equivalent is character. When you build character, you prevent many of the crises that derail people's progress: poor decisions, broken relationships, ethical failures. Character is not visible on a resume, but it determines how far you go and whether you can sustain success once you get there. It is also critical to understand that value is not measured only in technical skill. Emotional intelligence, the ability to listen, the willingness to serve, and the consistency to follow through. These are all rare and high-value traits. In a world where people often overpromise and underdeliver, simply being reliable already sets you apart. As in medicine, where patients return not just for treatment, but for trust. In life, people gravitate to those who embody honesty, presence, and competence. Becoming a person of value also means rising above entitlement. The world does not owe you recognition, wealth, or admiration. Those are earned through service, sacrifice, and sincere contribution. You do not demand success, you attract it. And attraction is the natural consequence of being excellent at what you do and gracious in how you do it. Finally, when you commit to becoming a person of value, your life gains direction. You begin making decisions not just for comfort or convenience, but for impact. You start asking, how can I grow today so I can contribute more tomorrow? And that question reshapes how you spend your time, who you surround yourself with, and what goals you pursue. In essence, to become a person of value is to recognize that success is not something to be seized, but something that follows you when you live with purpose, develop substance, and commit to making life better for yourself and everyone you encounter.